Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thanks for attending NWIBRT's Meet the General Contractor. Today we have special guest, Advanced Engineering Services. We appreciate you being here, and we are going to have a great program for you today. NWIBRT is Northwest Indiana Business Roundtable is an independent, not-profit council of local firms committed to the improvement of construction and maintenance projects here in Northwest Indiana. We promote safety, quality, and cost-effective solutions to challenges faced by owners, contractors, and labor in the region. If you're interested in joining NWIBRT, please check out our website at NWIBRT.org. Thanks for attending. Today we are using our GoToWebinar platform. If you have not used it before, you're automatically in muted mode, so you don't have to worry about any sound coming through. And with that, I will hand it over to our main attraction, which is Advanced Engineering Services. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm Akhtar Zaman, Art Zaman from Advanced Engineering Services here in Hammond. I want to thank Stephanie, of course, and Northwest Indiana Business Roundtable for allowing us and giving us this opportunity. I have with me Caitlynn Hunt. She's going to help us with the presentation. And again, I want to thank NWIBRT as well as all the attendees for today's program. So just to begin, I will start our PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully you can all see this. So just to give you an outline before we dive into the main portion, we'll talk about a brief company introduction. We'll talk about why you want to choose AES for our services, what kind of services we offer, and we'll showcase some projects that we recently completed in Northwest Indiana, and then obviously we'll have the closings. So AES is primarily a geotechnical engineering, which is a part of civil engineering and construction quality control testing and inspection firm. We are an approved consultant for INDOT under Geotechnical Engineering and Construction Inspection Services. Our lab is also approved by Army Corps of Engineers. And in addition, we are also a certified DBE with INDOT as well as MBE with the Indiana Department of Administration. Our company motto is we like to help you to design and build stable foundations for a solid future. So we can help anywhere from the pre-construction site planning, due diligence portion, any basic preliminary geotechnical evaluation to final geotechnical evaluation, and all the way to construction time, where we can provide QA, QC testing service and inspection service for different types of construction materials. For example, soil, aggregate, asphalt, concrete, structural steel, masonry, fireproofing, things like that. So we partner with DOTs, we partner with various governmental agencies, municipalities. We work with owners, developers, architects, engineers, as well as, of course, a lot of the general contractors in the area, so that to make sure that the project is completed as per the plans and specifications, and also make sure that the project is finished on time. So just to kind of go over a few key items, why you want to choose AES for your next project. We have professional engineers with over 28 years of experience in the Midwest region, especially in Northwest Indiana. We have geotech engineers and materials engineers and inspectors on staff with experience with different types of projects that we have finished over the years. We have certified field technicians and certified welding inspectors They are signatory to Local 150. Our field technicians are all certified through American Concrete Institute, ACI. And like we mentioned in the introduction, our labs are accredited through AMRL, which is basically the AASHTO Materials Reference Lab, Concrete Reference Lab through the AASHTO program, and as well as Army Corps of Engineers. We also want to emphasize the fact that we have a detailed safety program. We have a regular meeting with staff to go over the safety protocols, safety procedures for different types of field testing. We emphasize obviously on the fact that you want to stay safe at a job site, even if we're not the contractor, but we are working with construction equipment, large equipment, small equipment, and so forth. So we have to keep our eyes and ears open to make sure that we go home the same way we come into work every morning. So with that, I'm going to ask Kate to take over and kind of go over the various services we offer. Kate?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Kate. I'd like to thank everyone for who's here and everyone who put this together. I'm going to talk about some of the services we offer. Some of our services start from pre-construction planning and due diligence. Then we also offer preliminary site evaluation for feasibility. As far as subsurface explorations, we can do soil borings, test pits, pavement cores, hand augers, rock coring, and a few other subsurface exploration methods. Both our field and laboratory, we do both field and laboratory testing for design and analysis for projects. We do both shallow and deep foundations for structural foundations. We also offer slope stability, settlement, seepage, embankment, earth retaining structure analysis, and so forth. We also do pavement design for both rigid and flexible, and we offer construction materials testing and inspection. This includes proof rolls, earthwork observations, construction observation. We also do soil, aggregate, and asphalt compaction testing using both the DCP, LWD, and we also have a nuke density gauge. We also do testing on concrete, masonry, fireproofing, as well as structural steel welding and bolts. I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Akhtar, and he's going to talk about some of our projects.
Thank you, Kate. So we like to take this opportunity to showcase a few of the projects we recently completed, or most of them are in nearly completion stage. So the first one I like to showcase is the new data center that Digital Crossroads put together. This is a very challenging, it was a very challenging site. It was by the state line on the northwest corner of the state, so northwest corner of the city of Hammond, if you want to call it, by the lakefront, where the old state line power plant used to be. Those of you who remember, it was demolished a few years ago, and Digital Crossroads did an excellent job to put this new data center, state-of-the-art data center there. And AES was fortunate enough to provide geotechnical engineering services and all construction testing, materials testing, and inspection services for that project. I think they just finished everything and they opened for business, I think, last month. So this is going to be a big deal, I would say, for Northwest Indiana if we get into the data center business. So I congratulate them as well, and we appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide our services for this project. So the next one I want to talk about is also another kind of a unique project in the area. Some of you may know that the Walsh Construction just finishing up an underpass underneath the existing CN Railroad in Munster. It's a grade separation project for 45th Street. where it used to make a jog. If you can see my mouse, it used to come from west, from Illinois side. Then you have to make a left turn, go over the tracks, and then you have to make a right turn to the old 45th alignment. So this jog is being removed now. Now people can come from Illinois side and go straight through. This is the new alignment, which is completed, and kind of go underneath the tracks here. That's the underpass, and march to the east side on 45th. And you can kind of look at some of these pictures I got a couple of days ago. So this is like fresh out of the press. This is the west side of the underpass, and the one below is on the east side of the underpass. I believe I was talking to Walsh, and I believe they're planning to open it for traffic as early as probably this Friday. So this is very exciting for us. Me being a Monster resident, live close to this area. It's a long time seeing, long time project seeing happening soon. We provided various types of testing and inspection service for Walsh, for the retaining walls, as you can see on the sides. There are some strict requirements for those retaining walls. They call it T-walls. They're a specialty product by Reinforced Arts Company. And so we helped Walsh with that. And there are a lot of groundwater wells are installed. You obviously can see it. You know, one of the funny part about our work is nobody sees what we do. That's kind of a challenge. So we really need to talk about it to make sure that people understand what we do and why we do stuff. I mean, these wells were put in along this underpass so that in rain event and so forth, those wells are connected to a pump station, so they can be pumped into this, they call a clay hole lake right next to this underpass. So obviously, when the rain event, you don't want to flood in this underpass. So that's the whole purpose of it. So that project, like I said, is pretty much done. They're opening up the roadway possibly on Friday. The next one we like to talk about, and we're really proud of this project as well, is the new Recreational Center that is pretty much ongoing in Merrillville. And we were fortunate enough to do the geotech, all the soil borings up front on the design phase, as well as during construction. We provided materials testing services, including peripheral observation of the aggregate piers that they needed for these foundations. We kind of did all the concrete testing, all the asphalt testing, all the aggregate compaction testing. We did all the structural steel. We did floor flatness testing. We also did, relative humidity on the floor slabs, moisture testing, so all kinds of fancy stuff, right? So that project, I think the main building part is done, but I think they're going to add like a concession stand and some other stuff. So it should probably be wrapped up pretty soon too. So that project is in Merrillville, and the last one, last one I want to talk about is a new industrial. It's actually going to be a laundry facility, an industrial laundry facility, right here in Hammond, not too far from our office. And we were fortunate enough to work with ARCO to provide all construction material testing services for this project. This is also a very challenging project in terms of the site condition. It was all old slag fill, so we had to deal with a lot of that undercut and very shallow groundwater table, so that made everything very challenging. So I guess once you're above ground, you don't have to have the problem, but that was the initial hiccup with the project. But they kind of addressed all of the issues, and we kind of helped them with that. So those are some of the major projects that we have finished or will be finishing. This facility is actually going to be opening up in spring of 21, so this is not completely done yet. We have multiple other projects that we've done throughout the year, and I don't want to take up too much of the time, but large and small projects is still going on. So that's kind of give you some idea of the type of project that we're involved with. So that's kind of our last slide with our contact emails. Then I think you have the beginning of the slide. We had our phone number, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask now, or if you want to reach out to us at a later time, you're more than welcome. So that's somewhat completes our presentation. So if you have any questions or comments you want to add, we would like to hear them and answer as best as possible. So thank you again. Thank you very much for your time and your attention, and we really appreciate it. And hope to help you with your upcoming projects. Thank you so much. Stephanie?
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for being here. That was a great presentation. If anyone watching has any questions, please type them in the questions portal and hit send. It'll send it over to me, and we can do that where we're going to move into the Q&A portion of the presentation. To get started, you talk about how you guys do geothermal testing, or geotechnical engineering, I'm sorry. What is that, and why is that important?
So geotechnical engineering is a really good question, Stephanie. Thank you for asking. We didn't go into details, of course, but anytime you construct a building or you're building any kind of structure, you talk about building, you talk about bridges, you talk about roadway, you want to make sure that the ground is suitable for that structure. So that's what geotechnical engineering is basically we test the ground, we collect soil samples from different depths based on the type of structure, we analyze them, and we go through these calculations and analysis to come up with the geotechnical design parameters that the structural engineer takes and finalize their drawings for foundations, for floor slabs, from roadways, for all the other art supported structures. So for bridge and stuff, you might have to drive piling, right? For regular buildings, you might just on a shallow straight footing, or like I was talking about, for the Merrillville Rec Center project, they had to use a specialty technique called aggregate piers. So we kind of had to give them the design parameters for them so that the contractor can come in and take all that information and finalize the design and build according to the project requirements. So in a nutshell, anything you build on ground, you need a geotech engineering done to make sure your structural design is appropriate to the site condition, in a summary. That answers your question, Stephanie?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Welcome. People are already calling it. Good.
As far as the materials testing that you do, what materials specifically do you test, and why is that important?
Sure. So that's another great question. We have this. Sorry about that. We have. Anytime you have a project, the designer usually specifies certain type of material for the project. So for example, if you are pouring concrete for foundations, the concrete has a strength requirement. It has a requirement for slump, workability. It has requirement for air content so that it can withstand through the nice cold weather that we have in our region versus the hot summer days that we get. So it's a big variation. So all of these are only, by looking at it, you cannot tell if it is meeting the spec. So that's where we come in. We come in and we do those field testing and the lab testing to make sure that it meets the required strength requirement, it meets the required workability requirement in terms of slump, water cement ratio, temperature, and it meets the air content requirement. So that's going to give you an example of why it's important, because if you don't test it, you are kind of taking it for granted and assuming everything is going to be fine, and probably 90% of the project is fine, but you just don't want to be in that 10% category where something goes wrong and there's no way to kind of go back and figure out why it went wrong. If the testing was done up front during the construction, it makes things a lot easier. So that's just an example. Same thing goes for soil compaction testing. If you're placing in fill and you're developing a pad, you want to make sure it's compacted, and you can only do that by doing the construction testing and compaction testing during placement, making sure it's adequately compacted and it's suitable to support your structure. Things like that. Same thing with asphalt, same thing with structural steel. You don't want to have structural steel not properly connected, not properly welded. Those are the things that are really important to make sure that the structure is built the way the plan calls for, and it's going to stay for a long period of time. That makes sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. A question we have is, do you install monitoring or recovery wells, and if so, what diameter can you drill?
We don't actually drill like monitoring wells. We can drill for temporary groundwater level, observation wells, we call it, because they're not like the IDEM approved groundwater wells. So there's a slight technical difference between them. So we can go up to 6-inch diameter temporary groundwater observation wells that we typically, we've done many times where you install it on a temporary purposes to collect water sample and analyze them even for analytical reason. There's a lot of projects we get into where the contamination issue, so you have to analyze for contamination purposes as well as for other purposes. And so yeah, we can drill up to 6-inch diameter. Typically we go like 4-inch diameter, but our capability can up to go 6-inch.
Thank you. How far do you travel from the region as far as projects that you take on?
We'll go anywhere you want us to go. We'll go to Hawaii if you want us to go too, anytime. But no, we have had projects in Indianapolis. Actually, we did a geotech down in Indianapolis area, and we provided some other services there. So we go there in South Bend. Actually, like I said, Jose is actually in South Bend today because we're trying to finishing up a geotechnical field work today, so he had to go out. So we're going all the way to South Bend, Elkhart, on Indiana side, and we are also registered in Illinois. We go up to anywhere in Chicago area. We've done projects in Naperville. We've done projects in northern suburbs. So pretty much you can call it, Chicago suburbs and entire northern Indiana. Is basically where we can, cover reasonably without, busting somebody's bank. So.
Wonderful. On what scopes of work do you perform your quality control inspections?
So we can perform pretty much any type of quality control inspection, for any kind of construction projects. Our main forte is in the geotechnical side and, soil-related compaction, aggregate compaction, things like that, roadway construction for asphalt compaction, any kind of building materials, concrete, like you said, masonry walls, fireproofing, floor flatness, floor moisture, relative humidity, things like that. We obviously don't get into, for example, drywall, stuff like that. You follow what I'm saying? So like drop ceiling and things like that. We're more into like construction materials rather than that type of material. So yeah, it just depends on the project requirement. We can, we've done projects where we document even roof process for municipalities' requirement. They wanted somebody to verify the roof process to make sure that's part of the drawings and specifications. And we verify the size, we verify the joints, we verify the connections. So the list goes on and on. It just varies from project to project. So if you have a specific project in mind, reach out to us. We'll definitely be love to discuss about it and figure out a way.
Excellent. As far as the testing that you do, how long are those results good for?
Well, the testings are good for pretty much forever. Like if we testing concrete, that test results is good for forever. I mean, concrete obviously has its life, of course, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the life may be. So that should be good, but there are certain tests are time dependent. For example, I use this example a lot. It's called proof rolling observation. We do a lot for ground. You know, that is where it sounds very crude, but it is very effective. You know, when you have an exposed ground surface, you know, you put a loaded dump truck and basically you have the truck run over the area on a slow speed so that you can walk behind it. You don't want to run behind the truck, and you kind of watch the behavior and the response of the ground based on the weight of the truck. And that's kind of a very common way of checking, making sure that the subgrade ground is stable or not. We do that all the time. The limitation of that is only good for the time period until it rains or snows or goes through a freeze-thaw cycle. That's the limitation of that, because ground change significantly in matter of hours, matter of minutes. If we do a proof roll in the morning and there's a big rain shower, that proof roll is completely void. So depending on what kind of testing you're doing, there are some time variations. There are some limitations there. So and we try to kind of talk to the client and kind of try to explain to them the reasoning behind them. I mean, if we're testing a concrete, that's good for the life of the concrete, but if you're testing ground condition, that could change for compaction or proof roll or something similar.
Wonderful, thank you, Akhtar. Last question that we have time for. At AES, how do you guys promote a culture of safety and have that carried through to all of the projects and clients that you work with?
Great, that's a great question, and we always strive for safety. You know, I probably mentioned briefly during our presentation, we do have a safety detailed safety program for our employees, for all of our team members. We have monthly safety meetings where we kind of try to go over any hazard observations at the job site. You know, any procedural issues. If anyone sees any issues with running a test, and we continuously try to improve the procedures, the test procedures, and you know how to handle a certain equipment, how you behave, you know how you walk, even simple thing like walking on an uneven surface, right? That could be a major issue at some point. So we have that discussion among us on a regular basis, and we remind all of our employees to follow certain procedures for each type of test, the right procedure. And we also try to remind them to kind of watch, you know, keeping your ears and eyes open, because we're around big equipment, right? I mean, we don't run them, but we are working around them. So it is very critical that we stay in a safe location, in a safe position, and that way, you know, we go home the same way we come to the office every day.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much for the presentation. I feel like we've all learned a lot. We appreciate you being here and the opportunity to learn more about advanced engineering services and what you do. And thank you for being a member of NWIBRT.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We have new social media channels here for NWIBRT. We have a new YouTube channel. You can find this presentation as well as other Meet the General Contractors on our website, or you can follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn to find out up and coming and new events that we have going on. Our next seminar will be Meet the Owner, in which it will feature the city of Crown Point. We'll have the mayor and several others from the city who are going to be talking about what they have going on, projects, and that'll be a great one coming up right when we get back in the new year on January 7th from 11:30 to 12. We hope you can join us. Go to NWIBRT.org to register. Thank you for attending. Thank you guys for your presentation. Thank you to AES for taking the time. Everyone have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Take care. Bye.